Hello and welcome back to another episode of Promote the Hell Out of It. My name is Misael Trujillo and this is the podcast where I chat to people worth shouting about. I hope everyone is doing well. I was very excited to share this conversation with everyone, and somehow when the recording came up, because of time zones and stuff, I managed to mess it up, miss the session. But Luke Henery, bassist for Violent Soho and also an awesome photographer, was super rad, and we chatted later on, had an amazing conversation that covered everything from perspective about what's going on with COVID, what's going on with the scene right now as well, as it progresses at different timescales to what's going on over here in the UK, and just get an idea of what it's like to be in a band that I absolutely love over the other side of the world. Violent Soho released an amazing record in 2020, obviously affected by COVID and everything else that's happening around the world. But really rad record. Go check it out. I've been big fans for ages, and it's definitely worth going back through and listening to their output, especially if you're a fan of punk mentality, grunge rock, maybe in bands like Pixies, Nirvana, that kind of thing. It also, for some reasons, gives me huge Echo Park, Buck Rogers, Feeder era vibes, which I freaking love. So I was super excited for this conversation. If you fancy helping the podcast out, there's a link underneath for you to buy me a coffee. That always helps. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Here is Luke Henery. How's stuff going over there with all this COVID craziness? Are you actually able to get out and stuff?
Man, I just went and saw Press Club. I don't know if you know Press Club.
Yeah.
Man, I just went to their concert. It was fucking amazing. Like, the crowd was good. It was awesome, man. It was like being back in the old days with good shows. That was great.
Ridiculous, dude. We're missing it here, man. There's like nothing going on at all. Completely dead. Completely dead.
This gave me hope again in music. I was just like, oh, that's what I love about music. It's just raw energy and people having a good time, and no one telling us to put our masks on.
How long of a break was it, like, between not being able to gig and stuff?
Well, I was talking to them tonight, and they were saying that they haven't played since March.
Holy shit!
Same for us. Like, we haven't played in a year. You know, we haven't played since January or something.
That's crazy, because it's not the kind of stuff that you can stop doing for ages, and the passion is like exactly the same. You kind of thrive off being around people, right? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's a good time for punk music, because, you know, I'm probably more pissed off now than I ever have been.
That's it. And what about going forward? Like, how do you kind of pick up momentum again?
Oh, man, you know, like, we were never cool, so we were never cool kids. So it's not a problem for us. We just go back to the garage and piss off the neighbors again. It's not a problem. It's not like we were, you know, trying to play Brixton. What's your big venue there?
Brixton will do, yeah. Brixton Academy.
Brixton Academy, that's it. Yeah, that one. It's not like we were busting down those doors or anything. No one wants us there. So, dude,
but yeah, I think this is the misconception with the internet, right? Because you see a band that's got like a fan base in their hometown and they've got like likes on YouTube, and people assume that they're playing massive gigs everywhere and making loads of money off it, right? What's the reality of getting out overseas for a band your size?
Oh man, you know, it's hard. It's, you know, we'd be lucky to cover our costs to go over to a place like, you know, the UK, but you know, that's not to say it would stop us, but, you know, you got to pay to play.
It's the mentality though, right? Because if you grew up wanting to to be in a band, you kind of were aware of what that entailed, and you're doing it because you want to be playing music. Whilst if you're doing it for the money, you're not going to be doing that kind of music to that kind of gigs, right?
No, I mean, like you like you'd have to be actually mental if you thought that you were going to make money playing music. I mean, people do make money, I'm sure, but I haven't met them.
and how does that make like the whole scenario of having to find side hustles so that you can make your music? How important is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different. Like, it's not like the States or, you know, Europe or anything in Australia. You know, it's hard. You can't just go on tour for 250 shows a year. You know, you do that and you burn out your audience. You know, no one wants to see you again because they saw you 250 times that year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
You know, there's only so many times you can play in Australia. So, you know, it's like any band in Australia, you'd be hard pressed to find bands that aren't having a side hustle or doing something else, you know, pushing cabinets or, you know, running cables for someone, or guitar teching or taking photos, or, you know, doing whatever they can to just, you know, stay afloat.
Yeah, and that kind of really messes up the income of a punk band, because all the punk bands I know in the UK make most of their money off merch, really, off like touring, but actually selling merch at these gigs. If you're only playing to the same crowd of people, you're kind of like limited onto how much money you can make of that crowd.
That's right.
Holy shit. And then what about the actual cost of, you've mentioned it's like you're almost paying to play when you go overseas, but it means you've basically got to have a huge fan base before you're going to make any money back of touring overseas as well. Is that mainly flight costs and how much it costs to get like equipment over all that shit? Or is it just living out there?
Yeah, well, you know, it just adds up real quick, you know.
Drinking out there.
Yeah, drinking. That's a huge cost, especially in our band. But you know, like once you get over there and the exchange rate and everything, you know, you're already losing money as soon as you convert it, you know. So it's hard, you know. But not to say it's not worth it, and it's not impossible. Like, there's heaps of Aussie bands that kill it over there, and
yeah.
You know, so like our mates DMAs, they smash it over there. So it's awesome to see. Yeah.
Do you almost try and look out for like support slots that will make like coming over worth picking up a fan base? Is that ideally what you're looking for?
No, we'd be more like, well, if we're gonna lose money, let's go play with someone fucking rad, you know?
Yeah.
Like we went and did like toured around the States with like the Bronx and stuff.
Nice.
Because, you know, it's
I helped put the Bronx on in the UK years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're going to go tour with the Bronx, it doesn't matter if you're losing money. You know, it's like, it's totally fine. It's no problem.
And is that like, it's difficult, at least in the UK, to find 4 people to have a band that all have that mentality, where not one person's like, fuck this, I want to be like, how did you guys like get that kind of attitude and stick to it for this long?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I mean, if you go back to our first few gigs, I mean, we weren't exactly walking into welcoming crowds. I mean, I remember playing one gig. I think it was a place called 4 Mile Creek Hotel, and we walked in, and I walked in first, and this guy did a round the house kick that just his foot just grazed my nose as he like went past, and I was just like, Jesus, what a welcoming committee. And then we were playing, and they're like, play Rage Against the Machine. We're like, oh, we don't know Rage Against the Machine. The dude like spat on us, like, if you don't look after your fans, you're fucking nothing. We're like, you know, so like that's where we started at. Those kind of shows, you know. So
pub gigs are like great fun when you've got the old man at the pub with his ale, like wanting, why the fuck are you making music?
Exactly. Like we were playing, and there would like be the football on the screen behind us.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are trying to look past you to see the football, you know, it's like, so, you know, we weren't exactly starting out in royalty, you know, it was like our expectations were very, very low.
Yeah. And how's that scene developed over the time you've been a band? Because from an outside perspective, it seems like quite like the bands in Oz of that style support each other quite a lot, which is something maybe that you don't see as much in the UK. Like you see each other commenting each other's stuff, you see each other at gigs, regardless of like the level or size of the band. Was that always the case, or is it a thing that's kind of grown over the last 10 years?
Well, I mean, like, I think in Brisbane, especially where we're from, you know, there was always a tall poppy syndrome, they called it, you know, so like anyone that got a big head about them just got ripped to shreds really quickly. So, you know, you weren't allowed to be a rock star, you know, it just wasn't, there wasn't welcome in the scene, you know. You get in trouble very quickly walking around thinking you're something special. It's like, mate, the Saints are from here. Fuck off, mate. Who are you? Like, you know. So, like, and most people, like, when we were first starting out, like, we play with, like, there'd be an electronic band on the bill. There'd be a noise band playing. There'd be a death metal band playing. There'd be a grunge band playing, all on the same bill. You know, it didn't. No one, and everyone was mates. It didn't matter that.
That's ridiculous.
You all played different music and stuff. There was no elitist shit or anything, you know. And if there was, it got thrown out really quickly. You know.
That's why most people got into that kind of music, though, right? Because they were outsiders and they wanted to fit in somewhere. And I find it real odd, like it's real divided in the UK in terms of genres specifically. Like you get like pop punk is completely separate to like indie and metal and hardcore. They're all kind of separated, but that kind of kills the energy a bit because you want that support and that, like, I don't know, it was more about finding a group of people you felt comfortable with than it was about selling music.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, you know, it's like a household, you know, like your dad doesn't listen to the same music as you, but you can probably appreciate some songs that your dad likes, and you're that's fucking sick, you know, your mom likes this, and, you know, so, you know, diversity is good, you know, and like,
makes for better parties.
Yeah, you know, like a good song is a good song, you know. It doesn't matter if it's played on a banjo or if it's played on a fucking 8-string death metal ridiculous guitar, you know. It's like, doesn't matter if the song's real and it's good, it should transcend.
For sure. I'm not sure if part of the issue is having, when you get too many bands and too many venues, you know. I lived in Brighton in the UK, and there was like, you could go to 5 punk gigs on the same night quite easily, and it's a tiny little town, and that obviously is no good for the energy of a scene, because you get that one band that's really cool and everyone goes towards them, and then 4 gigs are empty that night and everyone feels shit and doesn't want to support anyone, right?
Yeah.
And what about touring? In terms of, you mentioned Brisbane, how big would your tour in Australia be, and how long would that take?
Oh man, we'd wrap up a tour in like 2 weeks. Yeah, like maybe 3 weeks. Like if you spread it out over 3 weekends, they used to call them weekend warrior tours. You know, so you'd work all week, and then Friday you'd knock off and you'd go either play. You'd probably start in Brisbane, like if you're from Brisbane, you finish work at 5, and then you go load in to your gig, and you play a gig, and then we'd pack up the gig that night and then jump straight in the car and drive to Sydney. So it's just like a 12-hour drive to Sydney. And then you play Sydney, and then drive to Melbourne is another like 12 hours, and then play Melbourne, and then leg it all the way home. So like a 24-hour drive straight home. Try and be home for work on Monday morning if you could do it.
How many times a year would you do that so that you're not kind of killing that scene and playing too much?
Yeah, I mean, we used to do a lot. Like we used to play a lot, but I guess it was easier because when we were first starting out, because we didn't have like a profile or anything, so you're still just winning over fans. So we would do like 150, 200 shows a year, you know, but it would be on like a myriad of different bands tours that we'd support.
For sure.
A bunch of random bands, and we didn't care who we played with. We'd play with pop bands, or we'd play with metal bands, or we'd play with anyone, because we just sort of thought if we get a gig, when we get up there on stage, that stage is our stage for the 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever they give us, it's ours.
Yeah.
And if we piss everyone in the room, then fucking great. So be it. That'll be fun anyway. But you know, maybe there'll be one guy in the crowd that likes our band, and that's fine. That's good.
Was it a bit of a culture shock almost to go from doing like these weekenders to doing like a long tour, your first long tour, especially I guess for the singer, like it wrecks your voice to more than 3 days is a big difference, right?
Dude, I remember one of our first ones, and Luke completely lost his voice, like absolutely, because we hadn't learned yet that you can't just play shows back to back, party all night, get up the next day and just keep doing it. It's like, you're invincible. You know, who cares?
And you do more of everything on tour, right? Like you smoke more cigarettes, you drink more beer, like everything that is going to wreck you.
Talk it as loud as you possibly can for 6 hours. Well, yeah, I remember we got to Perth, and Luke had completely lost his voice, and we were just like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? It's like our first time we've ever sold out a venue in Perth. Luke doesn't even have a voice. And so we made it like karaoke. we said, all right, we're going to play the songs, but Luke can't sing, so you can get up and sing. If you shit, we'll kick you off and we'll get the next person up.
Good.
and it was amazing because like the singer from, I don't know if you know the hardcore band Miles Away.
No, I'll check them out there.
They're like an iconic Australian hardcore band called Miles Away. And the singer from that band, they're from Perth, and he got up and sung the first song, and it was like fucking amazing for us.
Yeah.
We were playing like, this is mental. I didn't even know he would like our band. And then Mark Borden, who sung in another awesome hardcore band called Break Even.
Yeah.
He got up and sung as well. And he was our TM at the time, actually.
Awesome.
And it was just so funny because like Luke had no voice, so he was still trying to sing some songs. Our sound guy had like his shit just like maxed out as loud as it could possibly go. And Mark Borden gets out there, and the dude's got like lungs on him like a fucking grey whale or something. He's just like, whoa! And it's like, I just remember like stepping backwards from the fallbacks. Just like, Jesus.
Oh man,
it was so great though.
Things like that, like it's weird, like how you react in a situation like that can really make a difference, man, in terms of that's memories created for everyone at that show. Maybe even more of a memory than if you'd have just rocked up and played it normally, right? I
think so, yeah. We talk to people about the show all the time. It was really cool.
If you'd have frozen and just been like either not wanting to play it or just done it normally, like that could have turned out quite a different story, right?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, like James, we were lucky because, you know, James is like, he should have been like a motivation speaker or something, you know. He got up there and gave the crowd like the biggest hype up ever, like sold them the idea. And then they just chucked on Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name of, and the whole place just cranked it as loud as possible, and the whole place just like blew up.
Nice. In terms of like how hardcore it is to tour and how much it wrecks you, you've been doing it for a while now. Have you adapted how you tour in terms of sleeping on floors? Have you tried to level it up a bit? Or do you just kind of not worry about the consequences and get better when you're back home?
I mean, you know, I don't know if I get better when I get back home. That's for sure. We have gotten older and appreciate a comfortable bed a lot more. But I tell you what, we've done our fair share of sleeping in uncomfortable places. I do remember the first time we could finally afford to buy blow-up mattresses.
Yes.
And it was like the greatest day of our life. We were kings. We were like, we could sleep anywhere. This is amazing. Like, no one can stop us now. We got our van.
Dude.
We got blow-up mattresses. Fucking forget about it. And like first night, we're in Wollongong, like it's like south in Australia. And it's quite cold. And we stayed at our friend Luke Armstrong's place, who played in an awesome band called High Test.
Cool.
And he put us up, and we slept in his garage. And Mikey comes through, and he's wasted, and he just comes stomping through everyone's mattresses, just. And he must have like popped James's mattress.
Saw that come in.
Oh no! I wake up like feeling like a king in the morning. Oh yeah! Fucking how'd you sleep, James? I roll over. He's face first with the mattress like wrapped around his face, like because he's like sunken to the ground. He's just sleeping on the freezing concrete. And I'm like, oh, bro, are you all right? And he's just like, it's like, let's get the fuck out of here, man.
Dude, like those upgrades though, like blow up mattress, it makes such a difference. Like it fucking hurts, right? Like and it's about longevity as well. You kind of get to the point where you're like, how long can I keep doing this if I don't like stop hurting so much?
Yeah, when we were in the States, we had like a 15-seater Chevy van or whatever.
Nice.
And we took out the back 2 rows so we could fit all our gear in it, because we couldn't afford a trailer, And so we had the gear all loaded up. And then I remember when we finally were like, all right, I think we got enough money we can get a trailer now for the rest of the tour. Yes, got a trailer. So that meant we all had our own individual rows in the van. I was like, I got a home, man. I got like my own apartment here. It's fucking amazing. It was like the Taj Mahal, like.
Dude, and it stinks less. Suddenly you haven't got like the person who's sweaty as hell and like ball sweat right next to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping in someone else's swamp ass.
Yeah, for sure. And what about like the writing process? Do you slow down for it at all in terms of gigging? Do you try and take some time out to sort of focus on that, or do you kind of write on the road?
Well, I mean, Luke does all the writing, and he's like, he's a bit more of a recluse. Like, I don't think writing's really the environment that works for him, Yeah. He's definitely at home with his computer by himself, locked away, nobody bothering him, not me sort of tugging at his coattails going, bro, come and have a beer with us. And it's like really like the writing environment. So yeah, if we're touring, we'd be lucky to be writing anything.
So is it almost like anticipation for you guys when he goes quiet to like be waiting for the songs?
Yeah, man. I miss that. I miss the days when we first were doing it, because he used to just rock up at a rehearsal or whatever with his acoustic guitar and be like, oh, I got this idea for the song. But now, technology is so good now. He's like, emails you and it's like, bro, I got this new song. And it's like, dude, it sounds like fucking Kanye West, like, produced that shit. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like technology's come a long way. It's insane.
Dude, that's true as well. And it affects like the vibes of making music. How do you try and keep that kind of original feeling alive? Is it just the live element, or do you get it from other places? Do you still enjoy practicing as much as you did at the start?
I do, definitely. I can't speak for the other guys in the band, but I do. I mean, I live for that shit. I mean, I know for a fact that during the COVID times, I got told to stop asking to jam. That's how much I'm ready to go. They're like, bro, it's lockdown. Nobody can practice. You can't do it. But yeah, we could sneak in there, bro. Nah, No.
It's like sneaking into the play parks. We like, because they locked all the play parks here. So you'd go for a walk. It's like go out for a walk to the park, and then the play parks would be locked. And I'd be like, I really just want to sit on the swing for 10 minutes. And if it's locked, it makes you want to sit on that swing even more, man. Fucking locks.
A weird concept that someone can lock a play
park. So that gritty, like grubby kid fingers don't get all over the place or something. Yeah. Dude,
kill us all.
Yeah, that's it. There we are. The little kids are our downfall, man. Which is probably true to some extent.
Right.
So what about after like 2020, your mindset, how much of a bummer was it to be inside, and how did you deal with it? Like, how did you keep positive?
I don't know if I did deal with it, to be honest. I think I'm still dealing with it.
That's a good answer.
Man, it was like, it was the worst thing ever. I mean, like I feel terrible for everyone that had, horrible time through that. It was not good for anyone, but personally, I did not have a good time. And, we did 3 shows, these warm-up shows. Like we went back to the venues where we cut our teeth in, we played the Tote in Melbourne, which is like one of our favorite venues ever. We played the Lansdowne in Sydney, and we played the Zoo in Brisbane, which is like venues that we grew up, like when we were in high school, they were the venues that if we get to play those venues one day, nice. We made it, sort of thing, And we did that as a warm-up tour because they're quite small rooms, just like 300 cap sort of rooms. And then we did that as a warm-up. And we only played like maybe 1 or 2 songs off the new record. And then we put the record out. The record came out, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't do anything. So we haven't even played it. We haven't even played a show since our record came out. So, and this record especially, like of all our records, this one doesn't even I love the recording, but it really doesn't. The record was written to play live. Like it just doesn't even it's. I think it translates well on the record. Like it's really well done and stuff. But it was made. It was orchestrated. The whole concept of the thing was, this is a live record. Like we were going to record it live. Like the idea originally was to get a house in the suburb that we grew up in, and we were just going to set up in the one room and record the whole thing live.
Nice.
But then,
is that the record you did with the dude from Like a Version?
Yeah, Greg Wales, who's in Sampit.
Yeah, real cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
We were a massive fan of his band, Sampit, and we were like, and the guy records like, and that, that's the thing, because we got him because he's the guy that records live records all the time. And we were like, we just want to do raw live, like as live as possible record, and
sucks, man.
And so that the whole thing is like designed, the way it builds, the way the songs fit in the set, everything was like built to work as this live thing. And then the whole concept of a live show sort of completely changed. So it's weird.
Yeah. And it's almost like a record, like as you say, that record especially you've already intended for it to be like a live sounding record, but records don't become alive until they're heard by the crowd. Like it's the crowd interaction that makes that song so memorable. And it's like, it's that backwards and forwards with a crowd enjoying hearing that song that makes it finished.
Yeah, I don't even feel like the songs are written properly until they've been played in.
For sure.
Like once we've gone on tour and we've played it 100 times, it's like a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And the energy from the crowd, the way it shifts and everything. It would have been awesome, but it wasn't to be.
It's all right. Is the plan then to jump back on touring that release, or is that kind of the time's past?
Oh, yeah, we're still holding it out to do it. Definitely, we're working on some new stuff. Like we're working on new music and stuff. But we're just holding on to hopefully be able to come back and do something close to what it should have been.
Yeah. Has there been any focus on trying to like do something online for fans as opposed to the gigs?
We just can't do it because we're at heart we're a punk rock band. Like we half of our show is the people that are there.
Yeah.
It's like half of it's not even got nothing to do with us.
I watched Vinny Caruana from Movie Life having the Avalanche do an acoustic show on Sunday, and it was pretty awkward. I loved it. Like, the dude's a legend and it's so good, but there's no vibe. Like, it's like, should I grab a cup of tea now and like turn the lights down and like just get ready for bed? It's odd. Yeah. It's odd.
And maybe the next generation of kids will just absolutely fucking love that shit, and they'll be in their lounge rooms going mental,
moshing around on their own.
Yeah, the computer screws crowds. They'll give a whole new meaning to couch surfing.
For sure. Oh man, what is your point of view of what the internet's done for music and for punk, especially like punk music?
Well, apart from me being able to listen to it all for very cheap prices, that's great. But I think we've really fucked ourselves with our desperation to spread our music everywhere. We've somehow poisoned our own well, because now we've given away everything to these streaming services, and now music's worth nothing, and people expect it to be free, and who knows what the future holds for that. Like, maybe we'll just all be censored, and if you say something in your song that's not worthy, maybe it'll just disappear somehow into the cloud.
Yeah.
It's like, I think we've, convenience is the killer, right?
Convenience, and also like again, it is convenience, but how easy it is to think something's cool without actually having a need for it. Like, alternative scenes seem cool from an outside perspective, and then it's really easy to start bands and like look the part and hang out with the people, but you actually don't give a shit about any of the things that it involves, or you don't actually support it in any way. You don't spend money on it. You don't like, and it's real easy to start bands now and only start bands because it's cool to be in a band, but you hate touring and you hate going to practice and you hate every aspect of being in a band, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You never listen to a bad recording in your life.
Yeah. I still find it funny when I show people like some of my favorite like recordings when I got into punk rock, and I listen back and I can't remember them sounding that shit. I'm like, how did I even like listen to this? Because it sounds terrible, but it's still so good. And yeah, people,
have you heard this Discharge song, man? It's incredible. It's like, let me just play it for you.
Yeah, but I was listening to music on Walkman, so everything sounded like that anyway. It's not much difference.
Exactly. We were built for black metal, man. We were built for black metal.
What about your photography, dude? Because I'm a huge fan and I think it looks awesome. Was that something that you were already doing, or something that kind of came up? Nice. Yeah.
I mean, I've been shooting since I was in high school and stuff, and my mom shot, and then she had a camera when I was a kid, and so I took her camera and spent my money on film and stuff, and then I left school to work for a productions company, like making short films and documentaries, and then that company had to fold because they lost a big contract, and then I went and worked for the newspapers, taking photos for the newspapers, and then the band got real busy, and so I had to give away the photos for the band. And then I remember I was pissed off because we were doing the Weekend Warrior shit, like I said before, on the weekend. I hadn't taken any holidays, and my editor of the paper called me into the office, and he's like, "Look, you need to choose between the band and the job."
Bullshit.
And he's like, "We need a full-time photographer." I'm like, "What do you mean? You need another full-time photographer?" Like, bro, I work so many hours for you for free. Like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, "You can go away and think about it." And I was like, "Nah, I didn't even think about it, right? Like just grabbed my stuff and left, and then did the band. So, yeah, once the band got busy, and then it gave me a bit of freedom, I guess, to be able to start shooting again. Because I don't know if you're familiar with an old Australian band called Grinspoon.
No, I'm going to learn so much about Australian music after this.
Yeah. They're a rock band from Australia. They're quite popular on the radio and stuff, called Grinspoon, legends. But they have a tour, like it was put out on VHS, and it was called 23 Hours of Waiting Around.
Cool.
As exactly what it was for me, tour. It was like just waiting for you 1 hour to do something, and then you got to wait around for the next 23 hours to do it again.
For sure.
And so I started filling that up with taking photos when we were going like on tour and stuff, and it was like it's like a meditative thing, helps you stay sane. Yeah.
Do you make an income from that as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I get to do like heaps of cool shit. Like I work with a bunch of rad bands. Like I did. Do you know a band UMI from Australia? So I got to do Tim Rogers, like his book, cool. The cover of his book, and I got to do the cover for one of his albums. And
sick.
I get to do heaps of rad photos with a bunch of rad bands. So it's kind of a rad thing to be able to love music and then be involved in other bands, like helping them with photos and stuff, and it's cool because I'm coming from a place of absolute love and admiration for these bands, so it's not like I have some kind of ego about I'm the greatest photographer in the world and I'm going to make your band look amazing and help you sell 1 million records. You're lucky to have me here, actually. It's not like that at all. I'm just there because I fucking love these bands and their music's so important to me. So to be able to, immortalize them in a photo is huge for me. So it's been a kind of cool thing to be able to tie the two together.
Yeah, for sure. And like you're actually doing two things that you enjoy, You're not doing music and then doing something you absolutely hate on the side, which a lot of people are stuck in that situation.
Yeah, so yeah.
It's like it's cool to be able to do something that, like, it sounds like you're passionate about that as well.
Definitely.
Are you a big part of then the kind of like visual, like the visual elements for the band as well? Like the music videos, or do you kind of go, no, let someone else handle it when it's for our music?
I do definitely try and get other people to do it because it's also, I think it's I love that part of music, the art side of it, because when you're a band and you get a budget to work with to do stuff, you get an opportunity to choose an artist that you really love and respect, and you get to work with them, which is unreal. But but I've been lucky too, because like the last, like Everything Is A-OK, our last record, I took the photo that's on the front cover.
That's it.
And and then I've drawn covers for our band before, and like some 7 inches, and
nice.
Another one of my photos on another 7-inch, and I did the first video for Everything Is A-OK.
Nice.
And I did some other videos as well with Soho. So yeah, the guys have been nice to allow me to get my fingers in that pie, which is fun.
It's you've got like it's weird because your photography to me has like a very specific eye, and all my favorite photographers seem like they were in the room as opposed to portray it, like trying to find a setting and making it all look pretty and then shooting at it. It's like they were in the setting, you could be next to them. And it's weird because I often find, like, whenever I've been photographed, they're the photographers that you almost don't notice because they're looking for shots to come around naturally. And it's quite rare to find that. And I think it fits in with the music. It's like organic almost, punk rock organic.
Yeah, well, I think it's music and photography the things that I love about both of them is like stories, right? Like my dad always hammered on to me about country music, and I could never understand why he liked country music, but he was always he's like, it's the stories. You got to listen to the stories. And then, then one day it clicked because it clicked with me with punk rock as well. It was like these people telling you important things in these stories and great ideas. And then, and it's the same with photos, like, I always say it, like anytime somebody's getting into photography and they ask me stuff about it, I'm always like, well, if you want to take cool photos, you stand in front of cool shit. I can't remember who, some photographer said that sometime, and I just held on to that for so long because it's true, it's storytelling, it's like you get to capture a moment of history, and whether it's an important piece of history, it's still history regardless, right? And in your mind, it could be the greatest story of all time,
Sure.
which is cool, and and no one can take that away from you at the same point,
It's funny because one of the focuses I normally have on the podcast is talking to people who are like passionate about what they do, which normally when you're working at something that you love, there's like struggles that come along with it. And obviously that's like the case with what's happened with 2020. Like there's always things thrown at you when you're doing something that you're like accountable for, and you haven't got a normal 9-to-5 job in an office, right? But it seems a bit different with you, and I can't ask the normal questions because you seem to actually just be doing it because you enjoy it, not for like a business kind of like final kind of focus on it. Is that something that you kind of picked up, that attitude from listening to punk rock and from that kind of ethos?
I think it actually comes from my dad, to be honest, because my dad said something to me, and I think he probably regrets saying it to me, but it's something that stuck with me forever. And he was talking to me about a job, and he was just saying, he was like, you never do a job for the money, do a job for the experience. So I took that to the, like,
extreme.
All right. Cool. Fucking all right. Dad said not to worry about money. I'm just going to be in a band. I'll just do it for the experience. But like nothing ever good comes from resentment and being pissed off at waking up in the morning.
Yeah,
if you're not being inspired, then it's kind of hard to make anything worthwhile. But yeah. I lost my train of thought.
No, but that's bang on, dude. I think a lot of people talk about like hindsight, and they look back on things as if like there's things they'd kind of change around, and a lot of the time that's because they're not doing what they've never been doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
If you could change anything about the time you've been in the band and like the photography you've done, is there anything that you'd go back and maybe change how you did it?
Yeah, I got so many apologies to make, but
yeah.
See, shit, I'd go back and apologize for. No, I mean, I've been very, very lucky. I've got to work with so many people that I absolutely love, and have, made a huge impact on my life and stuff. And photography and music's just been so good to me. I've met some of my dearest friends doing both of those worlds. Like amazing photographer from Tweed Heads called Craig Tuffin, who's like a wet plate photographer. He's incredible. That guy's been like a massive inspiration to me and really pushed me with my photography and in alternative processes and stuff. And so too, grateful to meet him. And then music's the same thing, so many awesome people that have taught me so much about life. But I guess like coming from a band, being in a band and understanding what it's like to be truly hungry and not eat for a long period of time, like it really puts into perspective what's important. And so if you can get through a day starving and have the best day of your life, walk away from it stoked, something's right,
Yeah, for sure.
You might be broke, but you wouldn't change it for the world,
And it relates back to something you said earlier, which is so true about being on tour, which is showing a lot of fucking patience. You are on tour most of the time waiting around. You're in a van waiting to get to a place, stuck in fucking tiny little cramped spot, just to go do like half an hour to an hour, half an hour in the UK, an hour in other places of something that you love. If that's not a fucking good quality, I don't know what is. Like, right? If you're not learning something from that, man.
Totally.
That's it's how weird a feeling is it to be someone who like looked up to these people and like you say, you've got to work with people that like inspired you, and now to be someone that's like getting asked to be on interviews and that's inspiring other people.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I never expected anyone to see any of my work. So the fact that you care enough to ask me questions is truly humbling.
I think it's odd because I've been looking back at a lot of the people that I looked up to, and how many of them weren't like millionaires. They weren't Hollywood style actors. And often when you get to meet people you look up to, they are just normal people working hard at something that they love doing. And I think it's breaking that barrier. It's realizing that it's normal people that were just doing something that was cool, that makes it easier to follow in that footstep. Because at the end, following in that footstep is just doing something that makes you happy. Like,
yeah, right. And that was what was so great and is so great about the Brisbane music scene where we're from, because most people are working 9-to-5 jobs and they are just normal people. They're just hardworking people, yet they lug their amps out of their lounge rooms to play a gig on Friday night to fucking 15 people. And maybe those 15 people don't even give a shit, but they still do it because it's got nothing to do with anything from apart from they love the song that they wrote, or that they love the song that their friend wrote, and so they pour their heart and soul into it. Whether anyone actually even hears it, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
because it's everything to you. So.
Like you mentioned that those first shows you'd play where there'd be like angry people that didn't really like your music, and it's weird. There are tours when you first start out where you're full out going to every show and traveling a huge distance, knowing there's going to be hardly anyone there and no one's going to like it, but you travel that time anyway.
Yeah.
At least that's changed for you though, right? At least you're traveling knowing there's going to be people who like your music now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's crazy to think that people want to hear it, because man, we played a lot of shows where people didn't want to hear it.
If you could, I know it might seem weird to give advice, considering, especially advice about being in a band, considering current circumstances. But if you could encourage people, not music-wise, but to do stuff they love, like what would be the advice you'd give people in terms of just, sticking to things that they actually want to do and not getting stuck doing something they hate?
Yeah. All the rich people in the world already clocked it. So don't worry about getting rich. You're probably never going to be rich. So just do what you want to do. And
but Bitcoin, dude.
If you're gonna get on that GameStop shit or something, go nuts. But I'd rather spend all my money on rolls of film and stuff that take photos that no one will ever see, and it won't ever matter, but it'll matter to me. And who cares? Because you get one life, right? You get one go. You get one chance to do what you love. And if you waste your time working for somebody, doing a job that you fucking hate, putting up with someone else's bullshit and never doing the thing that you wanted to do, then what's the fucking point? You might have all the savings in the world, but you've still got fucking nothing, right?
That's it, man. That's it. And it's funny, you say like taking photos that no one will see. Like, it's weird. No one knows that much about like rich business owners from the past. Like, there's nothing left of what they did. Like, all their shit's gone and like their memory's gone. But we still look back at like those first photographs that people took, and we still find records, and like, so there's more lasting like effect on making stuff than there is in just like earning money, right? Well, unless it's an inheritance for your kids, maybe there's a bit of a difference, but whatever.
I'd love to be able to say to my kids, "Hey, I was really successful. Here's all this money. But hey, kids, if you're watching this, I'm sorry it didn't work out."
Oh wow, dude. It's been so good chatting to you, dude. Yeah. And thank you so much for giving me another shot after I fucked up this morning.
Nah, oh good, man. It's a pleasure to meet you properly, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me whine about being poor. No, I'm joking. I'm not whining at all. I'm fucking stoked for everything.
I'm stoked for live music to come back, and I really hope that I can catch you at a show. If you come over here, awesome, but I'll be going over there anyway. So yeah, for sure. We've got friends over there. So as soon as things get back to normal, we'll world you a trip.
Oh man,
I'll try and time it with some shows. Yeah,
come and hang out at my place. Cookie dinner.
Amazing, dude. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was an absolute pleasure having Luke on the show. I've been obviously doing nothing but listening to Violent Soho ever since, and whilst getting prepared for the conversation, and I highly recommend you do too. Absolutely amazing band, great record they released last year. All the links are underneath, both to the music side of things, to Luke's photography, to social media, all that stuff. Go check them out. Leave us a review. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Especially on Apple Podcasts, a review on there always really helps. But yeah, just tell your mates, share it about. And if you enjoyed this one, go check some of the other episodes we've got, like the episode of Nigel from Rough Trade Records, or the episode with Kevin from Big Scary Monsters, or yeah, there's a load of episodes. Just go back, check them out. And if you're thinking of starting your own podcast, I use Buzzsprout. It's amazing. Link underneath for you to check out. If you sign up with them, you get a load of Amazon vouchers. It helps the podcast out. Win-win. But yeah, have a great week, and I'll catch you next time.